Hi, I'm Don McCoy. I'm the managing editor at the Oklahoman and Oklahoman.com. I'm joined today by Nuria Martinez-Keel, who is our education reporter, who has been spending a lot of time lately covering Epic charter schools. Epic is the largest public school district in the state, largest district in the state, with over 60,000 students. It's also a virtual school, and there have been a lot of questions lately about the financial dealings of the school, including a state auditor's report that made several allegations that prompted uh, state education officials to seek to claw back millions of dollars from the school. And most recently, yesterday, there was a flurry of meetings of panels, boards that are charged with some oversight functions or partnership functions with the charter school, which Nuria spent all day covering. Uh, so there's a quick encapsulation, but Nuria, what was the biggest takeaway that you had from the meetings that you covered yesterday?
Yeah, I would say my biggest takeaway was the internal controls that Epic School Board is starting to implement within their organization. It was a lengthy meeting. They had a lot of discussions, and frankly, it's a bit surprising to me just because they dispute so much of what the state auditor said, and so much of that audit report they say is incorrect and inaccurate with incorrect interpretations of law and incorrect interpretations of Epic's charter contracts. But yet, some of those internal controls that auditors said was lacking, Epic School Board is starting to go back and implement those upon themselves, upon the school, and the charter management organization that's run by the co-founders of the school, and that's called Epic Youth Services. Similar names, technically different entities that they're working with, but all of those entities were wrapped up in this audit, and now Epic School Board, which, like you said, it was a fairly scathing report from the auditor's office. They were saying a lot of stuff was getting by the school board, a lot of payments were being made before the board even saw it, and said that the board was maybe unaware of a lot of what was going on. The board now is starting to request more notice before certain payments are being made, especially between the different branches of Epic Charter Schools. They're hiring an additional financial employee as an encumbrance clerk, and starting to really take a look at some of the controls that auditors said just were missing. So that was probably the biggest takeaway from the day yesterday.
And then you also had a legislative meeting you covered because I guess there's been some discussion of maybe there needs to be new legislation. Did we learn anything about that?
A lot of that still remains unclear. Obviously, there's a lot of interest from lawmakers. I was in a meeting yesterday with the House Common Education Committee and their appropriations subcommittee, where lawmakers heard a presentation of the audit from state auditor and inspector Cindy Bird. They also heard from state school superintendent Joy Hoffmeister, and they had a lot of questions for both of them what was found within the audit, and also just the process of overseeing public school finances. But I spoke with the House Common Education Committee Chairwoman, Rhonda Baker, after the meeting. She said it's really unclear at this point in time how much legislation we might see come out of this situation. It seems that lawmakers are definitely going to be interested. I think it's fair to say it's likely we could see some bills coming out of this situation, but they want to hear from Epic. They said that they want to host a second meeting, hopefully to hear from Epic officials to hear their side of the story. They want to see some certain things play out before they start to decide how they want to respond to this at the state capitol.
Well, and they're not the only ones that are interested in Epic, obviously. But so what happens next? Do we have an idea of where this might go in the near term?
Mm-hmm. So the first thing, Epic has said that they want to check the calculations from this audit. They requested the work papers and some of the backup documentation that auditors received. So they want to check those calculations. They actually said they hope to debunk this audit. They'll have 60 days after they receive those work papers to respond to a demand from the Oklahoma State Board of Education demanding repayment of $11.2 million. So they'll have 60 days after they receive those work papers to respond to that. Apparently, they already have a 190-page response to the audit as a whole, but Epic officials are saying they really want to dig in and peel back some of the specifics that went into this audit. After that point, we could see in January a hearing with the statewide virtual charter school board. It's a small state agency that oversees the 6 virtual charter schools in Oklahoma. Epic by far is the largest one. That agency is the only entity in the state that can sponsor a virtual charter school. And they have started the administrative process of potentially terminating their charter contract with Epic. That would be a significant development. Epic couldn't seek out another sponsor if they lost the virtual charter school board sponsorship. But before they do that, they had about 90 days from when they made that decision to start the process to have a hearing with Epic and their attorney. Now, their attorney listed a litany of potential contract violations found within that audit report. She has to prove those violations at a hearing. Epic also has the opportunity to present their own case with witnesses and evidence. So that would be obviously a very interesting trial to see play out. I use the word trial because that's essentially how it would work, where the board is acting as the judge and jury. That has to take place at the earliest in January. So we have a bit of time for Epic to prepare all of that, or all of their materials, for the board's attorney to prepare her evidence as well. That won't happen until January, and then after that point, the board could meet in a second meeting after that and decide whether they do want to terminate that contract. We don't know exactly the timeline if they were to go ahead and end that contract. We don't know how long it would take, but everybody involved seems to have the understanding it would be quite a lengthy process.
And that's as all these wheels are turning and people are doing all this stuff, the school continues to educate about 60,000 Oklahoma students, and that's going to continue, as you know, for certainly the short term. It's not going to. It doesn't sound like there's going to be a day when it's like, oh, by the way, your school is gone. That's not the way this is going to happen.
Right. The virtual charter school board, I think, really wanted to make that clear, that this isn't going to be a sudden event where the school closes or anything like that. This is going to be a process, and very likely a lengthy one. So I would caution a lot of worried parents. I don't think, and this is me speaking, but I think it's based on what the board wanted to get across, that this is not going to be an immediate action. This will take some time. We don't know how long, if it will last through the rest of the school year, if it will last into the next school year, 21, 2022. But I think they wanted to make sure people knew that this is not going to be a quick action by any means.
Okay. Well, obviously, there's a lot of people who have good reason to be interested in this story, and Nuria has been all over it. She posted a story nearly midnight last night when the last of those meetings finally wrapped up, and you can find that story at oklahoman.com. We'll have more in the newspaper tomorrow, and in the days and weeks and months to come, we'll continue to be all over this story. So please pick up a copy of the paper. Check us out on oklahoman.com, and we'll see you there. Thank you very much.